So self-leadership, man, those are the two words that has defined my decade. Right now, I'm offering my first self-leadership coaching academy. Hey, what's up, y'all? How you doing? If you watched the house tour video, that was the last video I put out, you know that my couch, my YouTube couch, is in the other room. And if you haven't seen that video, I think it's pretty fun. Little house tour, see what's going on. Also, the previous video to that was my finger injury. Dude, this thing is so gruesome. It's not even that cool to just show people without consent. So I actually haven't shown it anywhere on the internet yet. But I think when it heals up a little bit more, I might do that and go through the actual story. But if you didn't see it, you can check out that video too. That was 2 videos back from this one. In this video, wanted to kind of go back into my past and bring it up to date with my current reality. In this process, I think you'll kind of get to know me a little bit, and I think you'll also maybe, ideally have like a little take-home, little piece of gold, little gold nugget in there. I know that I have a gold nugget or 2 or 3 or 4 going through what I have gone through over the last 10 years and choosing the things that I have. So I'm just going to kind of speak freely and share some things. So the 2 words that sort of define my decade are self-leadership. And when I learned about this concept, just in the learning about the concept, it changed my life. And that was back 10, 11 years ago, something like that. If you've watched any of my videos where I share, my story, it's kind of a big one, but at that time when I heard about this concept, basically I was coming out of a 12-year relationship. So from the age of 16 to 28, was with a woman. We were married. We had a house. We had a dog. We had tons of stuff. We had a whole life, and we were really, just really, like this, as people get over 12 years. And she decided, she didn't want to be with me anymore. And I think ultimately that was a good decision on her part. But at the time, very, very, very painful experience for me. Because we got together so young, like 16, I know for myself when I was 16, I had some parts of me that were quite mature for a 16-year-old, and I had some parts of me that were really quite young, just based on experience. I just didn't have that much experience, and I certainly didn't have a lot of experience with healthy, emotional, romantic relationships. I didn't have a lot of experience kind of learning who I needed to be in order to have healthy attachment. I think I had a lot of shadowy attachment to her and to kind of our relationship. And so, even though I was 28 when we separated and eventually got a divorce, even though I was 28, it was experientially, based on the experiences I had, I was still 16 in a lot of ways. And learning to date, because that's where most people date, right? Is from 16 to 28 or 25, and then you tend to, get really serious about someone and then maybe get married. So during all those formative kind of dating years, I was just with one woman, and I just wasn't learning a lot of those things. I also wasn't learning about how to deal with a breakup, how to deal with the pain of kind of losing someone. It was traumatic. I'll say that. It was really intense, painful stuff, man. Oh, God, it was terrible. It was terrible. And I was also, physically, emotionally, spiritually, super addicted to alcohol. Just could not go a day without alcohol. It was just so patternized, it's just such a strong habit for me. I would be working, and at like 12 o'clock, I'd be like, dang, dude, I can't wait until I have a beer. And by maybe 3, maybe 4, 5 at the latest, start drinking, and I would easily have a 6-pack would be like a small amount for me, and it was always pretty strong beers. We're talking like somewhere between 6 to 9% alcohol. To put that into perspective, I think like a Budweiser is 4%. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but something like that. So even though the beers I was drinking, maybe it was 6 a night, it was kind of like 12 of the normal stuff. And then, like I said, 6 was bare minimum, and I would often have 12. And then during the weekends, I would have a lot more. So that was my alcohol situation. On top of that, I was very addicted to opiates, and that was something I didn't do every day. I was kind of like a binge functional opiate user, and opiates, in case you don't know, that it's a whole class of drugs. In this case, for me, it was primarily Oxycontin, but it was like anything, Percocet, Vicodin, fentanyl, and a little bit of heroin. Not a lot of heroin, but it was mostly Oxy, and it would mostly be like maybe once or twice a month I would binge out on that stuff for anywhere between like 3 to 5 days and go through this cycle of being really high and then being like coming down and then being like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not on that, and then being like, oh, I really want that, and then getting it, and just kind of doing this whole cycle over again. Smoking cigarettes every day. By the time I was kind of a weird smoker, actually. It was like all my friends smoked, and I hung out with my friends at that time a lot, like maybe not every day, but almost. And whenever I was around them, I would smoke cigarettes, and then I would buy packs of cigarettes kind of regularly. But by the time that my wife and I at the time had broken up, I was smoking a pack a day, Marlboro Red Shorts. That's what I was smoking. And what else? Any other kind of drugs in there? Off and on, addicted to tramadol, which is not an opiate, but it is a painkiller. It's supposed to be non-addictive. That was not my experience. That was actually one of the most painful come downs of any drug I've done, in part because I was abusing it like crazy, taking a lot of tramadol every day for many, many, many days in a row. So I had all this stuff, you guys. Like, I just had a lot on my plate. Like, and then I lost, I had this really painful loss. Prior to that, maybe, I don't know exactly when, it may have been as long as a year, may have been as little as 6 months. We also lost our dog, literally lost our dog, and we had him since he was 6 weeks old. We didn't have any kids, but any of y'all with pets, like, they kind of become something like that. I definitely don't want to equate it to like actual human children, because to me they're not the same, but they can definitely pull on very similar heart connection. And when you lose an animal that you're incredibly attached to, it can be very, very painful. So I had lost the dog. I had lost my wife. I was addicted to all these drugs. I was working doing foreclosure management, which kind of covered an enormous arena of actual work, between cleaning up a house, like literally throwing away nasty, nasty trash that had been sitting in houses for like 2 years, cleaning up mold, fixing broken windows, sometimes boarding up houses, always changing locks, always taking a lot of pictures, and then sometimes doing much more complex stuff like rewiring, replumbing, hanging drywall, painting, redoing carpet, lights. I mean, you name it. It was kind of like the full gamut. And I kind of loved the work, but it did not pay well. I was not good at business. I didn't keep track of money. I didn't keep track of expenses. Tax time would come and I would just be like so freaking stressed out. And I was working minimum 70 hours a week, no joke, and working a very physically intense job. So I had all this stuff going on. And after like a month, maybe a month after my separation, I was just binging. And I got to this point where it was like, I knew, I knew. And I had known for years, but this was like very much in my face. Like the writing was right there. It was like, Connor, you need to do something different. And I've said this before, but it basically felt like two options. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Nothing changes. Change everything. Those were my two options. For me, there was not an in-between. And within 7 days' time, I think because of the pain that I was experiencing, I stopped smoking, I stopped doing opiates, and I stopped drinking, all in 7 days. I changed my diet. I got really into raw foods. I was just focused on that. I was running, I was swimming, and I was really doing things quite well very quickly, and that was good. What I didn't know how to do was connect with myself emotionally. So while I was changing all these things about my physical, intake and output, and even my external reality, like I had moved from my house, I was still in the same, I was in Massachusetts. I was still in Massachusetts at the time. I moved from my house. So I changed all these things, and very, very good, very healthy things to change. But I just didn't know how to connect with this thing. But I was trying. And I was listening to a podcast, just randomly listening to a podcast on self-growth. And the one that I was listening to was an interview with Richard Schwartz. And he's the kind of creator of internal family systems therapy. For those of you who don't know, IFS, it's based on parts work, has nothing to do with your external family. It's about viewing your individual system as your internal family. So we have these different parts and we see them as our family, and we learn how to integrate our parts and how to lead from a place of self, calm, curious, and compassionate. So I just heard this podcast. It was a long podcast, to be fair. It was like 2 hours long, but just hearing this concept changed my life. Self-leadership. And I just got really infatuated with it. I bought every book that at that time was available on IFS, which at the time was only like 5 or 6 books. Read them all. I just did all the exercises I could on IFS. I started doing IFS very intensely on myself, where I would essentially become like my own therapist and ask my parts what they needed and how I could help them, and I would hold a lot of compassion for them. And I just started developing this crazy power that is self-awareness. Like with self-awareness, dude, you can do so much more than when you don't really have it. And I think most of us, we don't really have much self-awareness. It takes, a few of us have been lucky enough to maybe have very self-aware parents, or maybe to have techniques given to us at a very young age that promote self-awareness. But I think by and large, culturally, we're really into productivity and distraction. We're not so much into dropping down into our gut, grounding, and paying attention to what we feel, what we're experiencing in this moment right now. So with self-awareness, I started doing a lot, and I decided this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I really didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew that it meant something. And all I needed to do was follow that impetus because it was strong. So I did a lot of work to get into a training program, which at the time was still something you could get into. These days, to get trained in IFS, a lot of people are on this lottery. They've been on the lottery for like 3 years and they're still not getting in. So in part, I was fortunate that IFS was still, it wasn't as well known a decade ago as it is now. And I was fortunate that they accepted me. I was the only non-psychologist accepted. I promoted myself as a coach, which was kind of true. I mean, I was doing some kind of coaching for people at the time, mostly around diet, because that's what I was actually kind of competent in helping people with. And also some people came to me for depression or some addictive personality behavior. So I was doing some of that, but I just really lucked out, honestly. So I got into this training, I got trained, and that's when I really felt like, okay, I'm confident now. Now I have something to offer people. Now I can really step into this powerful place of leadership. And that's what I've been doing ever since for 10 years. So, and it's not like all this happened like overnight exactly, except for maybe that podcast. That was one sort of like the light just turned on sort of situation. Most of this stuff was just consistency. It's consistency, man. And sometimes it was like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Sometimes 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. But I just kept going, and I kept being consistent, and I kept returning to that. And taking that moment to just be like, where am I at? Like, what's happening in here? What part of me needs some attention right now? Like, what do you need? What do you need, bro? I got you. Whatever it was. Depression, anxiety, fear, remorse, shame. Cool, I got you. Let's take time for that. And as I was developing that with myself, I was also helping other people do that. And if you have a skill that you've taught to other people, you've helped other people with, it just helps you that much more. Like that's such a powerful way to learn, is by teaching. So yeah, man, that's what I've been doing for 10 years. And I just kind of I thank the universe for the pain that I went through. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and I wouldn't wish to go through it again. But I have a lot of respect for the power that pain, that challenge can provide. A lot of respect. And so more recently, like very recently, I've been doing one-on-ones for a decade, and I've built my practice, and I've come up with, I use IFS, but it's not the thing for me anymore. I use IFS, it's in there, but I have so many more things that I've learned, and I've created, on my own, this beautiful little package, this structure for my clients to just be like, okay, you want to do that thing? Cool, let me put you right here. You do only what you can do, and I will do all the rest. This structure is going to hold you in all the rest. So I love one-on-one, and what I am now offering is teaching other people how to make an impact on other people. So I'm basically training people to become coaches, and it's self-leadership coaching. And there might be other people offering something like that. I have never seen it. There's definitely no one offering it like I'm offering it. And I feel so proud of what I have created. So self-leadership, man, those are the 2 words that has defined my decade. Right now, I'm offering my first self-leadership coaching academy. It's a 4-month immersive for coaches and developing coaches to learn all of these things that I've been putting together for 10 years, how to formulate that and provide it to a client while also being very authentic to your own individual skill set, your own individual intuition. So this is like a program where you have this thing, but it's not just like it's not a copy paste. It's not a copy paste at all. It's a structure that you can always fall back on and rely on, but you put yourself into it. And in my experience, it's the one-on-one. It's this that makes an impact. But it can't only be this. This is attraction. You're here because you're attracted, and I'm here because I'm attracted. We have this thing. So that's really important. But that's not enough to make an impact on other people. You also have to have protocol. You have to have structure. You have to have safety. And you have to believe in that. You have to have confidence to present that and to give it and to hold it for someone else. So yeah, man, that's my updated story. You know, I've told this story multiple times in different ways. It's really fun for me. It's really like, it's just awesome, really, to be able to have a space where I can kind of share and know that I'm going to be heard, and to hear myself sharing. It's like, oh yeah, that's how I think about it now. That's interesting and cool. So this video is not meant to be just like a promotion for the Self-Leadership Coaching Academy. That being said, if coaching is something that you're curious about, you have a sort of like, I feel like I'd be good at that, I don't know how to do it, I could use some help, but I feel like I could do it. That's really the type of people that I'm looking for. I also have a couple of therapists already signed up for the upcoming 4-month immersive. So it's not just for people who have no idea what they're doing. It's also for people who have a good setup, like maybe are coaches, maybe are therapists, but they want to learn something more specific that they can offer to their clients. So I'm going to put the description, I'm going to put the link for a 20-minute video that explains what the whole Self-Leadership Coaching Academy 4-month immersive is. You can watch that video, and then on that same page, there's a place to book a call with me. So, you know, I hope my story is fun to listen to. I hope that, again, you get some gold nuggets for yourself out of it. If you also happen to be like, oh, what's that Self-Leadership Coaching Academy thing? Watch the video, and then if the video speaks to you, that's when you book a call with me, and we'll just chat for free. We'll see if we're a good fit. If you want to join the program and I feel like, you know, this is really going to be a benefit to you, I will make that offering and let's make it happen. My plan is to continue to run these too. So like if you miss out on the one that I'm running upcoming, there will be another one and another one and another one. So much love to you. Wonderful to be back on YouTube. Any of you resonate with this story? Have you had your own version of this? What are your words that have defined your decade? Love you. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.